What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? And welcome back to another exciting Evening Alpha. It's Evening Alpha. It is another episode. You know you love it. I love it. I can't stand it. No, I'm just kidding. I love it. And I want to thank you guys so much for coming and checking us out. Yeah, what is Evening Alpha? Well, Evening Alpha is a Web3 NFT show. We are here to interview and discuss and really have good conversations with some of the best projects that are in the space. Yeah, we've been honored with so many great projects, and I have another one for you tonight. In fact, this is a project that I am very excited about. I think they're doing something incredibly interesting in the space and very original and unique, and I cannot wait to introduce you guys to them tonight. Before we jump in, though, a little bit of housekeeping. So let's see, what do we have? Do we have anything? I'm not really sure. There's probably nothing going on inside of Adult Fantasy. No, that's not true. Actually, we're in the middle of a drop. We've got the Origin comic that is live. You can mint the Origin comic #1 now. So if you don't know what the hell an Origin comic is, and you're like, what the hell is this guy talking about? So a few months ago, we launched the NFT and Web3 space's very first Ashcan comic. So an Ashcan is a small mini comic, like a preview comic. We did the very first one ever be done in Web3. It's photorealistic. It looks awesome. It's generative. If you know AF, you know what we do. If not, you should go check us out on OpenSea. The Adult Fantasy Ashcan is used to burn for the Origin comic. So you get to exchange in the Ashcan, and in return, you get this Origin comic that is now live. We also have some special drops inside of the big drop. So if you go to origins.adultfantasy.io, that's origins, plural, .adultfantasy.io, you can go there and you can go and pick up the drop, the Origin comic. And we also have brand new to the Web3 space. I gotta give 100% credit to Flint, our amazing 3D guy. He ended up creating the world's first Chromium edition, and we have a Blacklight edition. So we have a Chromium edition and Blacklight edition. It's freaking awesome. So all you guys got to do is just go check it out and pick it up. And trust me, you guys are going to love it. We have multiple covers, multiple drops, a little bit of gamification. We're even giving away one-of-one original art for the NFTs. The NFTs are the original art because Avery, the artist, works digitally. So you're getting one-of-one art. Yeah, you guys are going to love it. Check it out. What else? Just to whet your appetite. Just to whet your appetite on the Origin comic, we are going to be revealing some of the Chromium covers and the Blacklight edition soon. The mint has been going on for a while. It will be ending soon. Like, I will be giving countdown and times and dates very, very soon. You don't have much time left. We're going to be revealing some of the special covers very, very soon. And I'm telling you, once you see them, you're going to want it, and they're going to go quick. So do yourself a favor if you haven't already. Pick up a couple copies. Go check out the page, origins.adultfantasy.io. If you're lost, you don't know what to do, hit us up on Twitter at AdultFantasyNFT, or pop into our Discord. You can find our Discord in the bio at AdultFantasyNFT on Twitter. And you're going to love it. I promise you, it's the best stuff you'll ever see. Also, one more thing. This week actually marks the 1-year anniversary of Adult Fantasy. So we launched in December of 2021. And since then, I think we've launched like a ridiculous number of projects, enough to make me very tired, but that's what it's about. So our 1-year anniversary is this week. We are going to be doing something really cool this week, probably on Friday. We'll give you more details soon, but come hang out with us, celebrate a year. Year one, man, only 99 more years to go until I can retire. So come hang out with us. We're going to be chilling. We're going to be having a lot of fun. And with that, I am extremely excited to introduce our guests tonight. They are Aaron and Doc from Neo Films. What is up, guys? How you guys doing?
Yo, what's up?
Yeah, well, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So first question always, what the heck is Neo Films?
Neo Films is the best way I can put it. My attempt at bridging Web3 and the film industry to really, I've been in the industry since I was 21. And it's one of those things like you have to love what you do because the system that it's built around just totally sucks. And I wanted to change that. I see Web3 as kind of our opportunity to do that, to use this new technology to subvert the system that's been controlling the movie industry pretty much since its inception.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. What's interesting is that I find,
Go.
after talking to a lot of people in the space, like especially people that come into story out of the quote unquote storytelling side of things, like a lot of it is the same story, right? Like I was in animation for 25 plus years, or damn near 25 years, with Cartoon Network and Marvel, and same thing, script to screen, to tons of broadcast pilots, you name it, right? And I saw the same thing. While I was never in Hollywood, like I saw the same thing on my side of the block, which is like, you're doing all the work and you don't get much credit, and when you sell your show, you're not, I mean, give up your baby, whatever, like you're selling it for a tiny little fraction of a percentage. And what I learned early on, and I'd love to know your thoughts, just because it's a different side of the same coin. Like for me, what I realized was that I was basically giving up equity in doing all the work, giving up the equity, and basically in exchange, I was getting a decently paying job. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah. No, it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
That was always the part that never made sense in the industry, is like, it was built to essentially screw over the creatives. It's on every $10 for something that you literally built from the ground up. And they just so interesting thing, actually, how I got into what was the catalyst for me to build Neo was I had a film that was really personal to me that I had written for 2 years. It was a friend of mine. It was her story that I was telling, and it had there's a lot of reasons why I wrote the script and wanted it produced. And I took it and went through all the necessary routes to get it produced, and I presented it, and they go, "Yeah, man, we love this. Like this film has legs. We want to make it, but not by you. You don't hold enough clout. You don't have a big enough name. You're not bankable enough to direct it. So how about we give you a nice little paycheck, and we'll give you a writer's credit and a producer credit, and we'll get one of our top-notch directors to make it." And I said, in the nicest way possible, that you really think that someone, just because he's got a bigger name than me, can make this film better than me, who literally lived and breathed it for 2 years? No, right. Thank you, I'll pass.
Dude, same thing happened to me, man. Like I had a project. So while I was at Cartoon Network, I was busy. Like everyone that works at Cartoon Network, if you're an animator, like your dream is to get a cartoon. Like that's not rocket science. And so I had one of my first mentors was a major player. I got really lucky, and he was a major producer who had a lot of connections. And so I worked for like a year plus getting, we did storyboards, and we got everything ready, the pilot, the pitch Bible, like you name it, we did everything, got everything. We even made like toys out of it and had like a lunch boxes made. Like we had the whole presentation, right? Classic presentation. And got into the pitch meeting and did really well. And the guy, I won't mention his name because I actually like the producer. He's not a bad guy. But like basically the deal was, it was the same thing. It was like I was an animation director at that point, but I wasn't like an animation director of Tarzan. It wasn't like I had already been in the film industry on that side, right? So I was like a commercial director. But even though I had done by that point over 150 commercials, knew how to do everything from scratch, from script to screen. Like I didn't have a massive team behind me, and I didn't have like a studio backing me. I was just some kid who knew how to do it and had the full, like I had the bona fides, but I didn't have the whole structure. And so they were basically like, yeah, you know, you can have your creator, you'll have your name as a creator, and you know, you can be like an animation director on some of the episodes, right? But basically, you know, you're going to get, you know, I think at the time it was like a fraction of like 0.05% or something on as an equity stake and whatever was made, right? So it's like a full-time job doing the thing that you created, maybe getting credit for it, but then not, I mean, basically you're just getting paid like you were just hired to do it, and they could probably just fire you whenever they wanted, you know? And I was like, I can't, I'm not going to, it's not worth it.
Yeah. You don't want to be in the breadline after, you know, putting your whole like body and soul into something and then, you know, still be out there like alms for the poor.
Yeah.
You know?
It was like, I wasn't in it for the credit. I was in it to do great work.
Exactly. And that's the issue. That's always been the issue. It's not about the art anymore. It really isn't. They don't care. Like, story should always be first.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's okay. Is Chris Pratt attached to it? Awesome. I'll bank it. Is it Harry Potter? Is it Fast and the Furious? Is it Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel? Okay, then I'll pass. It's like a fine line. Like, either you are, you know, a bankable IP, or you're an indie film. And indie film can make a movie on like a $90,000 budget and hope that it does something, or they'll throw $150 million at Barbie the movie, and just because it's an IP. And it makes no sense. Like, why would that $150 million could fund 150 independent films, and you'll probably find a diamond in the rough in those 150. But no, let's throw it at Barbie.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is, man. And I think this is where Web3 comes in. In fact, someone was just asking me the other day, like if they thought Web3 was really the future of like pop culture. And I was emphatic with saying yes. And the reason I say that is because, like, over the last 15 years, like, everything has moved over. Like, Hollywood has given up their creativity. Like, I'm an 80s kid, like grew up in the 80s. And like, I remember when Hollywood writers and directors were creating original IP and original properties that fucking kicked ass. Like, and like, you can find the worst 80s movie and it still has some kind of like value. You're like, wow, I mean, this movie sucked, but it's kind of a cult classic now. Yeah. Like, there aren't really that many really horrible movies that came out. Even the crappy ones were still kind of cool.
Yeah.
And like, but nowadays what happens is they don't want to do that because it's too much energy and too much time. So they just bolt on their purse, they bolt on the wallet to existing communities and existing audiences. And so it benefits people like us who are like, all right, like, we'll put our ideas out there, we'll grow our own audience. You know, our audience, in fact, with Web3, this is the first time where the audience and the community can actually help us make the thing and take part in the creation of the thing. And they're going to be the ones to benefit from when the film comes out, or when the book comes out, or whatever the game, whatever the licensing pieces that come out of this. Like, they're the ones that are going to benefit, as well as the team, right? Like, it's everyone is in this together now. And so I think like Hollywood is kind of fucked in a way, because they don't have any leverage anymore. You know what I mean? Like, the last 10 or 15 years, like they went from original content to, hey, let's just buy audiences. And they bought Star Wars, they bought Marvel, DC went to Warner Brothers. They bought those audiences, but now they're making crap films, and they're like, they don't know, they're not a part of the fan base, so they cannot make content that works for the fan base. Like, when I was at Marvel, they would take the writers and they would fly the writers to Hollywood, or they would do Zoom calls with the writers and talk to the writers of the books and tie that in to the movies. If you want to know why those movies were so good for so long, it's because the people who knew no, you can't do that, because in Iron Man number 182, this happened. Instead, you got to do this or whatever. Like, they knew all the connected tissue of all of this stuff, and so that was a huge benefit to Hollywood. And then Hollywood said, got it, and they made $1 bazillion. They're like, cool, we don't need you anymore. We're just going to take, you know, I don't know, Born Again. We're just going to take that off the shelf and we'll just make that into a movie. But all of a sudden, and I'm just pulling that out of my ass. I don't really know, but like all of a sudden when they start pulling these things off the shelves, or now they're trying to make original stories, there's nothing to support it. The fan base doesn't support it because it's not a classic story, and the writers don't know anything about the fans or the characters, so they're just reading Wikipedia and trying to figure out. They're just trying to make it up. They're just making it up. They don't know what the fuck is going on. And so now we're moving past that phase. And I think like people like you guys, like Neo Films and some other people who are in the space, we are now, and even adult fantasy, like we're now in the position where I still think we're a few years out, but I think we're the next phase. Do you know what I mean?
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Definitely.
I'd say it's probably we got about a 5-year window, but I've talked about this in the last time we talked. Is the upside is the industry are settlers. They're not pioneers. They're gonna sit back and watch what we do, see if it works. Then they'll jump in and throw all their money at it and figure out how it works. But that's where it benefits us, because it allows us to get that first mover advantage. And so when they do come in and start tossing all their money around, they can't just go, oh, well, you're useless now. Like, it's we run this space, and that's what they do. That's what they've always done. You can see it all throughout the film industry since really its inception. Think Westerns back in the 50s. They would pump out Western after Western after Western until people stopped paying to see Westerns. Now you don't see any. Then blaxploitation films in the 70s. Then horror films in the 80s. They will milk the cow dry. And then once they can't get any more milk out, then they stop and try and find the next thing. And we are the next thing. We are, in my opinion, we are what's going to defeat streaming, because it's a totally different thing now, where you can, the audience can have a direct contact with the entertainment that they are given, and that's never been a possibility before.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing with fandom, right? And what Todd was saying is absolutely right. I mean, you're lucky that like Netflix with The Witcher, they have Henry Cavill, who's a super fan, right? But that's not going to happen all the time. He can kind of dictate, like, I've read every single one of these books my entire life. Like, I know how to do this. But when you're talking about connecting with your audiences, it's the same thing with big game publishers. Ubisoft or whatever tried to shoehorn some NFTs into games, and there was massive pushback because they just didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know
what to do,
They didn't know how to approach it correctly. So it always starts with the people supporting, and once you lose that element or stray too far from it, I mean, clearly everything falls apart.
Yeah, 100%, man. And like, it's so interesting too, because it's such a silly thing, because even when I was there, they were already talking about, like, sort of like, oh, well, our fan base is all a bunch of middle-aged white dudes or whatever. And I'm like, so what? Like, I had disagreements. And I tried to do my best to battle, of course, as like, go yell at a mountain. But like, there was such like this attitude of like, oh, well, we need to change. We don't care about the fans that we have now. We don't care about. We don't need them. They're over the hill. They don't mean anything. We need these people. And so you saw it over the last several years where they just completely changed everything, the way they tell stories, who they tell stories about. And it really is, to Doc's point, a shoehorn where they just start remaking things, reinserting things, changing things, and change is fine, but there was no attempt at making it a saga or a story. And that was always my problem. I was like, if you want to tell the story of this character, changing from A to B, whatever it is, go for it, but make it like, tell the emotion of the character. Like, what does the character go through? What pain does that character? It's the basic hero's journey. Like, you have to put the character through hell so they can come out the other side. That's why there's so many good Daredevil stories, because every time you see Daredevil, his girlfriend's on heroin, and he's getting his ass kicked in an alleyway. You know what I mean? And like, people know who he is, and he just got the crap kicked out of him thanks to Frank Miller for like a decade or whatever it was. Right. So like you have all these classic stories from it, and the problem that they have now is twofold, where they just invented these stories and they didn't want to spend the time or the money to make the characters go through any kind of journey to get to who they are as heroes. They're just like, magic heroes. By issue number 3, they're just phenomenal. Or issue number 1, they're just badass characters. They just magically take the place of whatever they were trying to replace or change or modify. Great. Like, you're not going to get a fan base who's been around they've been reading Spider-Man for 70 years. Like, you want this other character to take the place or to be associated with it. Cool. You're going to have to spend 12 issues making the character earn it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't take that much. And then on the other side, they forgot. And this was the other thing that I would always scream about. I was like, you guys are forgetting, like, yeah, granted, I'm not young and I'm not spry, you know, okay, cool. I'm a dude in his 40s. Here's the thing about a dude in his 40s, anyone in their 40s. I don't care what your background is. Mostly. Everyone has a different life. But this is the first time in my life where I've had any real discretionary income. You know, for a decade, for 30 years, I was like, damn it, I can't spend $30 on comics. Guess what? I can spend as much as, you know what I'm buying now? I'm buying artist edition books that cost $100 a pop or 150, $200 a pop because I can. I'm buying original art. You know why? Because I can. So I could buy any comic book I want, but you fucked me over and you're not telling stories that I care about. And then on top of that, you forgot the other important thing. And this is really goes to like Aaron's point as well, is like, I have children. I have 2 kids. I would like nothing more than to take them to a comic shop and introduce them to stuff. But I've been treated so bad as a fan. Why would I ever want to give you money? We'll just invent our own stuff over here. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I would rather my kids support what you guys are doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, show them like, no, this is the way you actually can go into something like Neo Films and you can support them and you'll be a part of the movie making process. Like, that's so much more engaging than what's been going on, right?
Yeah. Plus, I mean, look, the film industry and the comic industry, just listening to you talk as well, like, people don't realize just like how many cogs and wheels are part of that. And what amazes me is every time I sit in on one of these talks is I learn more and more about like the actual industry itself, right? And just like the suffering that people who have been in it for so long have gone through, the terminology, just the hoops and bells and whistles and all the stuff that you have to jump through just to try and get your name out. So that's the power of Web3 is, you know, now we can like laser hone our focus and find the people that really care about something that's being built. And that's the beauty of it. And the people who are making it, like, they just all that other stuff, they're like, I'm done with that. Let's just do our thing and make it work and make it shine. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the coolest thing, in my opinion, with it is, you know, it builds a base audience that is like rock solid because they are so involved in what you're doing. Yeah. So like when you put something out, you literally have an incredibly vocal audience that's like, yeah, man, this was awesome. I had a part in, you know, deciding who cast this film. I decided what dress she's going to wear for that scene. Like, now they're like creatively invested in what you're doing. So they are going to be your most vocal supporters for anything that you do. And that's a huge thing, especially when you are trying to disrupt an industry that like is basically can just go, that's cool, but I'm going to throw $50 million at it to beat you out. So it gives us a leg up as creatives far beyond something. It's a new dynamic for a grassroots movement, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Definitely. Yeah, well, I mean, look at these things. So, like, Todd, you do kind of collaborative creation with your site. Aaron, we're going to do the same with Neo, right? Where the community comes in and builds stuff. Now, contrast that against like Hollywood or whatever, where they'll just have like scripts in the vault, you know, just of stories with tropes and all that stuff. And every now and again, they'll come through and go, oh, well, we can slap this IP on this and make a movie of it, right? I mean, that's what people, I think a lot of people don't realize that, is that a lot of these stories, they're not custom written for, you know, XYZ, your favorite character, whatever. They'll just take this thing and say, oh, well, changes here. All right, this is good enough. This is whoever's story, you know, now franchise story, right? Yeah. I mean, like, there's the originality is all gone.
No, exactly.
Which is crazy.
It's crazy.
It's not gone. It's not gone.
Well, it's not gone.
It's not
very deep.
it's like it's not safe for them to invest in something like that.
Yeah.
It's they would, again, like I said, like, which makes no sense because They would rather throw a bunch of money at a safe investment when none of it's safe. Like the best movies that I have, the ones that withstand the test of time, were usually made on like a $30,000 budget, and like the director just had to make a good story because that's all he had. He didn't have money for good special effects or like top level actors or anything like that. Desperado was like, I think he raised the money from doing basically selling his body to science. So
Wow.
the best films have always, Clerks I think was another one that was like $30,000.
Yeah. Pi,
now-
Darren Aronofsky, he made that on Next
One
to
of the
Nothing
best
too.
books.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yep.
Right?
But now he's making multi-million-dollar blockbusters, and I get it. There gets to be a point, like, if you don't, they always say that you sell out. In this industry, you're pretty much forced to sell out, because if you don't, you're not going to work. But
That's
this
true.
allows you, again, Web3 kind of allows you to subvert that, because now the people are literally the ones who are going to keep you going, and you can keep creating because you have a community, as opposed to being forced to make a movie for a production house. And that's why, again, when I got into this is why this is the future, because people will, once they finally find their way here, they'll realize how much control they have over the kind of entertainment that they are taking in, and they're no longer force-fed what they think, what the 70-year-old dudes that have millions and millions of dollars think you want to watch.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing. There is nothing, in my opinion, that can beat the person who sits in an audience and says, "I helped make that film,
Exactly.
comic, movie, game." Like, you can't beat it. And I think this is the thing that people are going to find out in the movie industry, and we're early enough where we can get a leg up and we can establish ourselves. But it's a blessing, because I'm telling you, man, in 5-10 years, it is over, because like once the film industry and the game industry and all the industries realize, as a fan, if I come in to Neo Films and I come in and I take part in the community and I help create something, right? And that movie gets made, or that book gets made, or whatever, the pieces start to get out there. My response to that is to literally tell everybody I know, because I love what you guys are doing, and because I had a little piece, I had a little shout out in a book, or because I had something to do with helping to get, I know the story behind the story. I was a part of the story behind the story, and I know the crew, and I know the community, and I'm in the community. And you can't beat that. You don't get that with Avatar. Like, James Cameron, great, but like, who gives a shit? Like, really? Like,
hey, but this time it's in the ocean, man.
Hey, fantastic.
Nobody asked for
I want to watch
sequel.
it. I want to watch it. Who cares?
I mean, I have my son's teacher watches Avatar yearly, so he's probably waiting for the Avatar sequel, but nobody asked for it.
No, they have to do like
nobody asked for it.
Have you guys seen Future Man? Have you guys seen Future Man?
Yeah,
The Netflix show.
Like I said,
with the whole James Cameron arc in there.
Like I said, Kevin Caliber from my team, he was
That's right.
He was Blaze.
That's right. So yes, one of the Neo Film Masterpiece team members was in Future Man.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's wicked. But yeah, it's just like it's an exact point, right? Like, you're just like, something like Avatar. I read it has to be something like the number 5 movie of all time in order for it to break even.
And
it has to hit like number, which is
a ton of money.
Which is not going to happen. Right?
Makes no sense.
It's no sense. And to Aaron's point, you could have made what, like, I don't know, 100 movies?
Yeah, 100. Like, how much was the budget?
I have no idea, but it's got to be overall. It's got to be hundreds of millions of dollars.
$100 of million.
Like, it's got to be something like $500 million or something, because it literally said like it's got to be in the top 5 for it to break even.
So
237 million.
237 million.
That's before marketing. That's production cost.
Yeah.
Double it. So it's about 500 million.
About 500 million.
Yeah.
So what we are using for Neo Films is, it's actually a proven method that A24 and Blumhouse use. It's literally called the Blumhouse method. Blumhouse sets their budget with marketing, with production, with pre-production at around $4 million. It's about $4 to $6 million, because at that amount of money, if you get an international release, even at a flop, you're probably at least going to get your money back, but you're more likely going to make money. So just following the Blumhouse method, that's more than 100 independent films that you could have made with the budget that you used for Avatar.
Right.
And you probably would have made profit on those movies. But instead, again, like, you're willing to throw money at IPs just because they're IPs, and that makes no sense.
Yeah, it's memberberry. It's like, hey, remember this movie? You remember?
Yeah,
They're
remaking Beverly Hills Cop.
No.
Eddie Murphy was Beverly
No.
Hills Cop. There's no way to remake Beverly Hills Cop and make it better, because Eddie Murphy is way too old to be Beverly Hills Cop.
Well, it would be Beverly Hills Geriatric, which I totally would see. But
Beverly Hills Desk Job.
They just made a sequel. They're making a sequel to A Christmas Story.
Shut your mouth. I'm done. That's it.
And the kid is like the grandfather.
I'm out of here.
now.
Good.
Right? Have you seen the
Yeah.
trailer for this?
He'd have to
No.
be, because he'd be in his 50s now, right? Yeah,
Oh,
'cause
I
he
think
was-
it's older than that, man.
How do you miss with that, man?
You don't.
You don't.
It's
unless you don't know
fragile.
if
Come
unless you're-
on.
Unless you're morally bankrupt.
God. Good
Christmas
night.
Story was another like low budget indie film.
Yeah.
If you look at the credits, there was like 15 actors total in that entire movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but that's the way it should be, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Really quick. Let me say hello to chat. Say what's up to everybody. Willie D, hey now, what's up, brother? How you doing? Willie D says he loves the cyberpunk aesthetic. Hell yeah, man, absolutely. KG, what's up, man? Welcome. How you doing? Galaxy Rider, how are you? Welcome. Dr. Funk says that he's on TV. Great, Doc. Thanks. Good job. Mr. C, Dusty, I gotta say hi to Dusty, because Dusty gets mad when I don't. What's up, Dusty? How you doing? Mr. C's Deliveries, huge fan of Neo Masterpiece films.
Yeah.
And he says, cool looking YouTube channel. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. MK, what's up, man? GM, welcome, sir. Awesome. KG says that it's lucky to get on Netflix. Now it's remakes, nothing original. And yeah, they're absolutely correct on that. Christopher, what's up, Christopher? Christopher says, what's up? Shout out Neo fam. And he says, shout out Clever Arrow. What's up, Christopher? How you doing, brother? Yeah, KG, Harrison Ford is 80 doing another Indiana
joke.
And they
Jones.
de-aged him for that too.
Not
they
for all of
really?
it though. I think they did for the first part, right? Yeah.
Did
got
they
I
really?
saw
de-aged.
screenshots that they de-aged him. for
Yeah,
that
they
movie.
de-aged him.
Is
some,
they like
yeah.
good, or is it like still kind of plasticky?
It's gotten better. It's gotten
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, they Brandon Lead him. That's cool.
Was that like the? That was the first. Was that the first?
Yeah, and it still
Yeah.
looks good. I
looks
hadn't
good.
watched The Crow in a while.
God, I haven't watched that forever, man.
I know.
That
Still a
was
good classic movie.
so good. Yeah, that's such a good one.
Yeah. So, Aaron, man, I'm curious. Like, so with Neo Films, how what's the story about, and then how are you approaching kind of building that Web3 community, and like what's the community like? What are you kind of building with the community?
So the catalyst for creating Neo was a film called The Groomer. And The Groomer is it's a story about human trafficking. And it's not this story. Every human trafficking movie that you ever see is Rambo or Taken, where it's always the person that's rescuing the person that's been trafficked. This is the opposite. This is showing what it's actually like in that world. And it follows the story of a woman who gets trafficked, and kind of she accepts her plight in that, and it's like her story after having been gone for like 10 years and what it's like within that system. And like I said, it was based off a friend of mine who after a couple beers like opened up and told me this story, and I told her, I was like, wow, like that story has to be told. And I asked her, I was like, can I tell that story? And she said, yeah, just as long as it's not my story. So it's based on a true story. And that's what was the catalyst to for this was to get the groomer made. And as I've been in the space, like the coolest thing is like the kind of networking that just comes from being in the space. And it's already grown to, we have a documentary that we're doing that's a Web3 documentary that a guy from Meta Marketing International, it's his company, wanted me to make. And and then we have a short film that we're doing for Opus Labs. Like it just really, like all of these things started to grow out of just being in this space. And then I have a couple friends who are animators, and it took a lot to convince them to come into Web3.
Why?
And there's this whole stigma about Web3. There literally is. It's just it. If we called them digital collectibles instead of NFTs, nobody would bat an eye. But because you called it NFT, it's a bad word. But they could like, no, like that's a scam, blah blah blah. And I finally got them to come in, and they're doing animations for. We're offering production services for other projects, and they're doing that. But I talked them into doing it for our project as well. So kind of like how you're doing with your community, my holders are putting together the world of Neo, our PFP pictures, and like creating this story about them. And we're going to do little like 1-minute animes that will turn into NFTs. And so that's one way I'm bringing all the community together. But beyond that, everyone that is a holder like has a literal say in how the project will turn out. And it can be as deep really as my holders want it to be, because there's so many creative decisions that go into making a movie. And a lot of times when you're in the director's seat and you're trying to make those decisions, you always come down to like 3 or 4 that are like, man, any of these would work. Like I love all 4 of these actors. So why not let the people who are actually, part of your community make that decision? And then they literally have a part in the creative process and are creative directors for your film. So they get to be a part of the creative process. We're going to airdrop memorabilia from the film to them, like autographed NFTs from the actors, or storyboards from the film, or concept posters and things like that will be randomly airdropped to holders. And then the cool thing with being in this space and being independent is we don't have any IP entanglement. So we're able to have fractionalized ownership of the film with our NFTs. So when the film is finally like finished, we're going to connect a piece of the film to each of those NFTs. So you literally own a piece of the movie. So those are all some of the big things that I'm doing to kind of connect the community and really like integrate them into the filmmaking process.
That's awesome, man. That's wicked. So like, are you live yet? Do you have the drop already done?
So what we're doing, we have 2 NFTs in our ecosystem. We have the founder NFTs, which is fractionalized ownership of the company itself. Very limited, like won't ever be any more of those. And those are basically you are a shareholder of the company. So you collect revenue from everything that we create. And those are sold, via direct sale with me. Because if you're going to buy a founder NFT, you're literally going to be with me for a long time. And I don't want you to just go on a website and click a button to mint your founder NFT. I want you to ask me questions and really get to know what the project is before you buy a founder NFT. And then we have what are the Neo NFTs, which are the fractionalized ownership of the film. And we attempted a drop about 2 weeks ago, had technical issues, and it just kind of killed the momentum. So we decided to pause it and kind of reset. And after the holidays in January, we will re-drop the Neo NFTs for the community.
Oh, it's wicked, man. Like, so how are you guys navigating the bear? How are you guys navigating the bear market right now?
The upside is that the people that are here. They're not like a lot of the degens have left. There's
I'm
probably
loving
still
it.
some that are sticking around, but the people in this bear market are the ones who actually believe in what is being built, and that it is the future of technology. So it's a totally different class of people, and it's the kind of people that I want. I don't want degens. I don't want people who are looking to flip.
Yeah.
I'm wanting long-term investors. So that's really been an upside in it. But really, it's slow. It's a lot slower than it would be in a better market. I've been told multiple times, if I was in a better market, I'd already be sold out. So, but then if you're building in that market, you're racing against the clock to get done before the bull ends. I have time to really like grow it.
Yeah, and I think Doc and I were talking about this too a little bit, but like we like one of the things that we said the same kind of thing. It's like the people that are here are the people that are here, like legitimately here. And the other problem, especially when you're launching products, because now we've been doing this now for, I mean, we started working on this at the beginning of 2021. We launched at the end of 2021 because we ended up creating, are we whistling?
That's my daughter. She's got her.
That's all right. We all have
squeak.
kids, man. We all have
Cool.
kids.
I was just like, it wasn't me.
You had to have seen. I've yelled at her like 5 times during this interview.
It's all good.
We have kids. It's all fine. I was just like, it wasn't me. I didn't have a burrito. Like, no, but like we, one of the challenges is that we in a bear market, like, well, in a bull market, one of the challenges is there's a pressure to continue to launch, right? Everyone expects like everything right at once. And we took an entire year to create the project. And we had technology that we invented. And so we took time to patent that. And it's like NFT tech, like we own tech, stuff that nobody else can use really, unless they partner with us. Right. And like, and going through that and then launching, like, watching so many other projects, like they launch and it's like there's this pressure to launch all the time. Like a lot of these projects made hundreds of millions of dollars, but what they had to do is launch all the time, nonstop. And then
it's impossible to keep up.
Impossible to keep up. And now that there's a bear and they're not launching all the time, everyone's like, what the hell? Right. And it's the exact opposite for us. We're like, okay, we just launch when we're ready. We have a product roadmap and we just go bop, 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 bop. Like it, and it's sort of like a modified Wednesday drop for us. You know what I mean? Like every Wednesday I used to go to a comic shop to pick up the new stuff. It didn't matter whether it was a bull market or a bear market or the stock. I didn't know any of that shit. I just knew that if I went to a comic shop, went to my local LCS on a Wednesday, that I'd say hi to the same people and I'd pick up my books and I'd enjoy my weekend. Right. And so, certainly we're not to the point where we're dropping stuff every week, but to do it every month or every quarter I think it's just the standard. It's just the standardization of cool. These guys are going to, like, all we're doing right now is like, yo, these guys are here. They've been connecting. They've been doing partnerships. They're here. They're going to be here. Like every time I tune in, they're doing something. They're talking to somebody. They're making connections, and they're releasing something. Like, just I think the to Doc's point, man, like 90% of the game right now is just being like, yo, we're here. Yeah. We're not leaving. Like, we're here. You don't have to worry. Like, we're gonna be here.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's a long game. It
takes some thought leadership too to kind of change the narrative, because you get so dopamine up in that bull run and people are just, and they want that after launch. Okay, what's next? What's the next piece of utility? What's the next? It's impossible, because I work for a game too. And, entertainment projects, they take clearly they take time. And usually when people consume entertainment, it's the finished product, right? So it does take a little bit of like mental gymnastics to go, hey man, okay, but these guys are doing something. We're seeing the updates. And as long as you kind of feed them that, the pressure is, I'd much rather be doing something like this in this current market ever than like trying to launch in a bull. Yes, you could sell out, but the ability to sell out, making just a crap ton of money on your mint is not necessarily a good thing. Like at the height of the bull, like where you could just like, say, hey, Mr. VC, I'm XYZ project, be like, oh, here's $5 million, and then it's like, what the hell? A lot of people and projects, they don't know what to do with that next, right? And then you got stuff like Pixelmon or whatever it was, with the Kevin guy, just like absolutely look, desperation. Look, especially for this. Here's the secret, right? With entertainment too, is everyone has heard like the starving artist, right? Desperation breeds great art, right?
Yeah,
the need to make something on the budget of nothing, like it makes amazing things happen. And I'm not saying that we're all underfunded or I don't know what everybody's funding is, whatever, but doing this under like specific and having that ability to kind of spread this out and like make sure that the quality's there is what it's all about. Because the next wave, it's all fan driven. It's going to be fan driven. It's going to be amazing stuff. And it's also, I think, about like people who consume entertainment. They're also going to be happier with like getting a storyboard as part of like it's not necessarily about flipping. It's about being part of something, saying I was part of that. And with this, I got a, for my involvement, I won a 1 hour interview with the cast, right? And that's so special to me. And I've got that forever ingrained on unlockable content that's attached to my NFT of that, like that's a tremendous amount of personal worth for like what you did. Like, so it's not always about a monetary flip with entertainment. I think as people who consume entertainment, I mean, Todd, you've got a wall of, comic books behind you. Aaron, I'm sure you've got the same sort of thing, like, so the definition of what we get out of the projects that we put in, I think is going to change as like entertainment really comes in to support the space better. Right. And people kind of come around to that idea like, hey, I can put something into something that I love and care about and receive, that cool piece of knowing that I was part of this. That's special to a lot of people. Just like I'm about to go stand at Comic-Con for 18,000 hours to get Bill Shatner's autograph, like, because that's special. And I'll be able to put it next to my Jimmy Doohan autograph that I got, like 25 years ago at the first Star Trek convention I ever went to, before they were cool. Right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's,
let me tell you, I've been going to conventions since I was 15.
Me too.
And I've been on the other side of it for so long, where like I was working on the professional side. I had tables, I had booths. When I was at Marvel, we were busy, talking to people and shooting B-roll and doing all the stuff, you normally do as on the other side of the table of a con, setting up the, the big booths and being in the green rooms, all that kind of shit. Yeah. Let me tell you, like I, one of the two fan things that I did, I made sure to get, so I didn't have I got the chance to work with Stan Lee, and awesome. I was at a con with him. He was pitching my property. He was pitching a property that I made for Marvel, and he was doing it at San Diego, which is like my 13-year-old self is like, yes, you made it.
Right.
And I would realize I'm standing there with Stan Lee and had personal time with him, hanging out with him, and I had nothing to have him. I had nothing for him to sign. I'm like, what are you doing, you idiot? Like, just grab some. So I ran out into a dollar bin and I legitimately pulled out the only book. I didn't even look. I pulled it out and I paid money. And I ran back. I didn't look at the book. I ran back and I was like, Stan, I know this is weird because we've been hanging out and I really appreciate you pitching this. And, I mean, I'll tell you sometime about like all the stuff. I just peeled all this knowledge from him. But I said, would you sign a book for me? He was like, sure, kiddo. And I gave him a book and it was a Batman book, which he never had anything to do with. And sure enough, he's like, there you go. Like, there's Stan Lee's signature on a Batman book.
Well, you didn't do like the bare your chest and
I
tattoo it on there.
I've seen people like he would sign on people's arms and their chest, and they would go get it tatted.
Oh man, I bet.
Yeah,
I would.
And so that, and then the only other big fan thing that I did was like that I kind of regret, but I'm glad I did it. Was I got a artist edition Dark Knight Returns Frank Miller, like the giant. These things are. Aaron, do you know what an artist edition book is? Okay, so this thing is like the original art. It's Dark Knight or Returns, which is like huge. It's like 18 by 24. The book weighs like 50 pounds, and I lugged it all like for 3 days to a convention where Frank Miller was, because he hadn't done one in years because he was going through some health things. And I stood in line and I got him to sign it. And like I was in so much pain from lugging this damn book around for like days, but I got the damn thing signed.
Yeah.
And I wanted Klaus Janson to sign it, but he turned around and he had disappeared. He was gone. I was like, fuck, you know. So to complete the set, I got to get him to sign it. But you know,
yeah.
But it just goes to show you, man, it's the fans, right?
Right.
It's all the fans,
and it changes the dynamic. It really does, because as you said, like to someone else, it's just oh, it's a flip. It's something I can, make a little bit of money on. But to the right people, it is actually like, this is worth more to me than, like, you couldn't buy this from me. This will, this will stay in my house and I will pass it on to my children. Like so it allows us to create those type of connections in this shitty market, as opposed to just a bunch of people who are looking to make money off of what you're trying to do.
Right. Well, and it's true, right? Like the people, it's not just that the people who are here are really here, but I mean, even in terms of projects, like for most projects, like the founders could probably be making more money pretty much anywhere else right now. And that's just a reality. That's just the truth. There's nothing wrong with saying that. It's just the bear market. And we're in a cutting edge. We're like the cutting edge fringe of culture. You know what I mean?
Tech is always the first to suffer.
That's right. We're super ed. And so I think the opposite is true too. Like for people who are in these projects, like, and maybe Doc, this is maybe why you're like, I love it. Like part of the reason why I'm enjoying this time so much. And I think straight up, like, I think we have another few. I think next year's going to be brutal. I think the year after that's probably going to be brutal. Like we got a couple years of pain here, but in my opinion, I could be wrong, but that's just what I see. Like, but on the positive side, like the projects who are here are legit projects.
Yeah.
Like there are not to say that there aren't scams and pieces of craps out there, like there's crappy projects out there, but
a lot less of them.
You're not a scam project if you're building in a market like this and talking to your community and trying to gather people to create something. If you're here right now as a project founder, in my book, whereas in the bull market, it was like a 50-50 chance. Like you were like, well, I don't know. Like these people could be completely fake. Who knows? Like right now, I would say it's like 80-90% legit people. Like you can't be fake and be here right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. And there's no incentive either. There's no incentive to scam. Right. Like, because you're like, there's no cash grabs because you're very much cash to grab.
Yeah, I think the most important thing we can do is as founders and people in this space are work really hard to connect communities, because it's still pockets. It's still little pockets. Sure. And we're a niche to begin with, right? So that whole thing of just like reaching out and saying, hey, like any community you're in, or like, hey, I know these other guys over here, like they're really cool. You might like talk to them. Like the more we can build awareness for each other with the solid projects that are out there, like the better off we're going to be. That was also like a I'm your brother, but also because my chest is on fire because I think I'm getting sick. 2 for 1. Yeah, boy. But seriously though, like this is the time to make friends.
It is. Well, and it's also these communities, like our groups. Like one of the things that I really enjoy about this is that, especially through doing stuff like this and just diving into communities and like meeting new people, because of the people who are here right now and who are still grinding it out and like not leaving and saying, oh, there's no money to be made here, I'm out. You know what I mean? Like it adds so much credence to be like, hey, adult family, adult AF fam, like go check them out, go over there. Like, let's all go over and hang out in Neo Films. Oh, hey, this group, let's meet with that group. Hey, let's party with these guys. Let's do a game night with these guys. Let's do a movie night with these guys. Like cross-pollinate, because it is one big audience right now. And I do think that stuff is going to change. Like it's very similar to how it was in the tech startup space in like the 2010s, right? In 2010, like in the early 2000s, the tech companies that were in New York were like it is right now in Web3, where everyone was cool and everyone was hanging out and everyone was partying together and just being like super cool and sharing information. By the time venture capital really took off, and it's already started in Web3, it started already like sooner than it did in traditional, because I think those guys they all know what's up now. You know what I mean? They were younger in the early 2000s and 2010, and now they know the game. They're all rich, and so they're just like pouring in faster. So it's speeding up. But where we are now is that same point. So in a few years, when that next bull run comes, and then all those new people come in, the project owners and all that, they're going to be coming in for a different reason. And it's not necessarily a bad reason. It's just that we're going to be the team that's the OGs, like team as in like community. Like it's all of us, the people who are in the projects and the people who are running projects and a part of projects. Like we're going to be the OGs in the space, and we'll most likely be more protective of who we let into that universe, just because we know that with that next wave comes more scams and more people you don't know, and you don't want to expose your community to people who might be damaging.
Well, I mean, the onus is on us to be kind of to set the pace, right? To set those like unwritten rules of, okay, here was crypto, Web3 1.0, 2.0, whatever wave we just went through. Like even with the games, first round of games were like super ponzified. They're basically just like DeFi contracts with some graphics slapped on them, right? Didn't work, right? So this next wave that's building now, you know, they've learned from that. They're adjusting, they're coming out, and they're setting the pace. So for all of these entertainment projects, because the next one, we will get more Hollywood, we will get more interest from whatever, we will get, and we want to be the ones to say, hey man, Mr. Fox or Universal or whoever you may be, like, can't do that in my hood. Like, this is my corner, man. Like, so either like adapt or bye-bye. You know what I'm saying? Even though that's never going to work, but we could sure damn try.
Right. No, it's true. I mean, we've had, and I'm not going to mention any names, but we've had people in our circle who came up with original concept in Web3, pitched it to a traditional company, and all of a sudden, coming soon to a network that I'm not going to mention is a concept that happens to also be tied to the blockchain and is very, 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 very similar, even in style. It's very massive coincidence, like pretty obvious. It's a pretty obvious steal. So, like, it's very we're gonna have we have some battles, like, but I think the strength comes in building that audience, because the stronger the audience, the bigger the community, the more it's like a leverage, and it's both leverage and defense. It's offense, defense, and leverage. Right?
Is that a potential like chink in the armor? Like, you know, as a project, we tend to have to lay out our entire battle plan on paper. We make white papers. We do all that kind of stuff. Is that a vulnerability for people to come in and be like, I'm out of here? You know, I mean, like, how guarded do we have to be? Because we don't want to be the next gatekeepers, right? We don't want to gatekeep. We don't want to gatekeep the thing that we're supposed to be fighting against being gatekept. You know what I mean? So what do we do to counteract that?
That is an incredibly good question, because you could. It's hard because, you know, I would love to just say, hey guys, here's the script for the Grimmer, like, check it out. But you could literally have someone from, you know, a different studio hop in, like, oh, I just bought a founder NFT just so they could watch what you're doing. So that is really hard to do. But you also, I think you owe it to the community to do it out in the open.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, there might be some times where they are going to steal your idea, but that's not going to stop you from continuing to build your community and continue. Like, so I think you really do, especially if what we're trying to build is to be completely open about it and to allow everyone in as much as they want to be in, because if we don't, then exactly, we are putting up gates so people can't be a part of it if they want to be a part of it. And that defeats the whole purpose of what we're trying to build. So it is a vulnerability. And I'm sure that there will be points where someone's going to say, man, that's a great script. I'm going to produce that before he does. And it probably will happen. But that doesn't mean that I can't make another movie. I can't just pull another script that I have, in my back pocket that, or I can't go to like one of the cool things I want to do is I'm sure those people who, as a teenager wrote a script that they thought was amazing and didn't know what the fuck to do with it after they wrote it. So it's sitting on a computer and now they're an accountant with 4 kids with no idea like how to get that script made. Like I want them to be able to go, oh man, I'm a part of Neo. I want to present that and like get that made. Like that is a really important thing to me. My unicorns, as I said, are those people who tried to make it in this industry. I just got lucky. That's it. I got lucky. But there's plenty of people who, went to Hollywood and spent 10 years of their life trying to somehow make a living doing what they love. And they were a background for a couple films, but mostly just waited tables. Like those are my unicorns. Those people who were just like kept at the gate, never got in. Like, here's your chance to really get in here and be a part of something.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm glad that I only live 4 hours away from you, because I'm going to show up for every single casting call that is humanly possible, and I will be there. Like, do you need the handsome guy, the nerdy guy, the guy the off-foot dude at the gas station counter? Like, I could do all those things. You want me? put me in a beat. Look. My whole life, honestly, this is the God honest truth. All I've ever wanted to do, I would live totally happily if I could just have a career doing like B sci-fi movies. I would be like direct to video. I don't give a shit. Like put me in a cockpit. I'm already in one. Look, I'm trying right now. Pew 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 pew. Don't we have to get the dingle flopper with the bug? Look, I'm ready. Put me in, coach. Let's go.
Aaron, Doc's about to be Mr. Mom up in here.
I don't care. I'm ready. Neo Masterpiece Films, vote me in.
Tootsie 2 starring Doc.
Whatever's clever,
but that's
man.
the point, man. That's the point. And I think this I'll hammer it home till I die. Like that is what this is. This is our chance to like break down what has been, force fed to us for. I really believe the gates were put up probably pretty close to when they first started, making comics and films. Like, because even, Stan Lee had no intention of, he wrote it for the people and he wanted it to be real. Again, that's why Marvel was so much, Marvel's better than DC. I'm going to say it. Marvel's better than DC. But that's because he made it real. He made it for the people. Yep. Like, what? And I always said, like, well, why don't you like Superman? Like, they wrote Superman so invulnerable that they had to make up a reason that he was that gave him a weakness. Like that is automatically bad writing. Right. But it's always set out to be something where the people without the people, what are we even making? What's the point? You can make an amazing movie, but if you don't have people that actually give a shit about it, then what was the point in the first place?
Right. Yeah, 100%, man.
Mr. C.
Mr. C. Mr. C's delivery says, I'm going to be there too. I'm going to be your token Asian guy. You need a Chinese guy so we can get the movie into China. That's awesome. Aaron's my man.
Audition, man. Audition, Mr. C. I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Are you going to, are you going to be a Chinese food delivery driver?
Oh, so funny.
Sorry.
Dude, Indiana Jones. They are reuniting Short Round with Indy in this one, I do believe, as well.
Really?
Right?
Really?
I swear to God, I read that. Either that or they met at a convention. I don't know why I'm just thinking about this, but this Indiana Jones thing fascinates me because the last one was hot garbage. And I'm wondering why anyone in their right mind would pay to make another one.
I don't know.
Marvel is better a lot of the time. But Marvel all the way. I like Batman.
Yeah, I'm a Marvel. I can't front. Like for me, like everybody, like growing up, it was Marvel was the action and DC was the story. But DC's story to me growing up was so boring. Like Marvel had story and it had action. Like when Marvel shined, it was like hot art, hot story, and like just brilliant action. And I couldn't get away from it. You know what I mean?
I can appreciate DC because it's like it's filled with capers and you know, that whole like kind of like that thing. But I like the realness of Marvel. You know,
Yeah.
it's just
See,
like
but
Well, outside the window,
that
man.
didn't come till the 80s, really. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
until like it wasn't until like the Dark Knight and those type of stories started to get told that DC really went away from. I mean, look at I had a bunch of the old Batman, like 60s Batman, and those were just what can we that's where Condiment Man came from and Calendar Man.
cool.
Well, you
man.
had
Like-
in the 70s, you had like once you started having Neil Adams on Detective, that started to get and like his Green Lantern stuff, and all of a sudden like everyone's an alcoholic or a heroin user or whatever.
Yeah, I
like,
guess
that's
they had
pretty
their
good
dark
work.
times,
We got-
right? Yeah.
Christopher said, I picked Marvel. MK says DC gave me Teen Titans. True. Hey,
True.
Teen Titans and the George Perez run is classic. You can't beat it. DC is definitely nothing to sleep on. It's just like I think just overall, I don't know. Like I was so in our group, like I was always the Marvel kid. And Andrew, who's on our lore games on Thursdays and Fridays, our comic nerd room. Like he was always the DC kid. So he was always DC. I was always more Marvel. And so we used to have like the battles of like what stories and art were better. And so I was also more into art, and he was always into stories.
Yeah.
So.
You know who I used to love? I really loved Valiant back in the day. I loved
hell yeah.
I loved Solar, Man of the Atom, Exo Man of War, like those, and Magnus Robot Fighter, like those
Magnus
were all
was awesome.
Magnus was awesome. Those were all great books, man. Valiant was cool.
Yeah,
There's
man. I still crack open my Bartzius Turok. So
Yeah. There's a flea market like right down the road, and I've been eyeing this box of Valiant comics. It's just like a huge on the semi cheap. I'm gonna buy them all up one of these days. I lost a lot of my comics in a tornado. I didn't get tornadoed, but I happened to loan. I happened to loan a box. I happened to loan like a box of like my best comics to a buddy because he's like, hey, I want to get into some stuff. I'm like, all right, here you go. And I'm not like a prolific collector, but you know, I was like, you know, whatever, 15, 16, stuff like that. And like a week later, this like tornado. Yeah, I live in Tornado Alley, so I live around.
You are in Kansas City, right?
I live in Kansas City. So we had this terrible like 5-twister tornado, and it all went.
There were some flying monkeys, and they took my comic books, Mom.
Yeah. So yeah, but anyway, all my Valiant stuff, all my cool stuff that I really loved at the time, it was all in there. So a small tear.
That's right. Mr. C says Superman and Doomsday comic times were good content. Batman is undying classic, especially for the non-powered coming guys. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I will say, just touching back on that really fast. So the thing that I missed the most in this loss was my Tick #1 signed by Ben Inland in the editor and everything. Yeah.
So wait a minute. So now, Aaron, I got a question because we're going into like deep nerd territory. So is Neo Films planning any comic books?
I would love to get a comic book made. Like once we really get like the Neo story going, I think it'd be perfect comic fodder. I think it'd be perfect.
My mustache.
I would love to do a comic on Neo. Like I want to be written into that comic book. I've always wanted to be in a comic book, so that will be a selfish thing that I will do. But
we shall talk.
That'd be really cool.
Let's turn the tables, cool. Todd.
Yeah.
Has there ever been any talk about adult fantasy animation?
Yes. So here's the thing. Like when we first launched, and you know, my whole background is 20 plus years as an animation director.
Yeah.
And so the very first thing people asked was like, why isn't animation on your roadmap? And my answer was because I've been doing it for 20 years, so I know what it takes.
Right.
Everyone was like, we're gonna have a game, we're gonna have animation, we're gonna have comics, we're gonna do a feature film, and everyone's like, oh my god, take my money. And I was like, I can't lie to people, like,
right,
you know.
Right.
So the answer is yeah. But the caveat to that is that the way that we look at adult fantasy is that we're setting it up very similar to how Marvel set themselves up after bankruptcy,
Mhm.
right? So the
Yeah.
reason why Marvel went bankrupt is because they started buying companies in the 90s,
Mhm.
right? Everyone likes to blame everyone blames the speculators and the collectors, and I'm like, that's bullshit. Like, did it have something to do with it because people left? Yeah, but we also call that a bear market, right? Like what really set them on fire was that they made a shit ton of money and they decided to do everything in house. So
Right.
I think they bought, was it Fleer? They bought distribution houses. They bought a competitor to Diamond. They bought their own trading card company. They
Mhm.
bought a game. I think they bought a gaming company or something. Like, they bought all this stuff and realized really quick that they didn't know how to run any of it
Yeah.
because they were a publisher, right?
Yeah.
And so what ended up saving them is when they basically shed all of that
And went right
and
back to the basics.
right back to the basics. We make content, we make characters, we make stories for those characters and develop the universe. And then they basically said what we are as a licensing house. We make the content, we make the stories, right? And then that gives it a platform for licensing. So it's smart, because from my perspective and from what I learned while working there, I was like, well, the problem that I have, and I think it's different with film specifically, but one of the challenges with like gaming per se is like, let's say you're an NFT project and you're going to make a game. Well, what happens what happens if the game is bad? Like, what happens if people don't like it, right? Well, that project is gone.
Yeah.
Right. That's just what happens. Like, the game didn't work, or people don't like it. It's not what they were expecting. And they're out. What happens with Marvel when a game is bad? It doesn't hurt them at all, because they're removed from it. How many games, and just using Marvel as a reference, how many games do they have going on right now that are live? There's like 6.
Yeah.
And they're all different companies making those games. Right. Same thing with animation and all that kind of, even with film, they did it for a while before. Even while Marvel Studios and MCU was around, they still had Sony and Fox, right? We can debate whether those deals were good, but they spread it out so that they were in charge of making the core content, which was the stories and the characters that could then be used as fodder for all this other stuff, or inspiration for all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in fact, the only weakness they really had when it came to all that stuff, in my opinion, was that they had so much content. They had so many decades of content that they got a little lazy and said, we don't need this anymore. Right. And so from my perspective, like, do I want to do animation and direct some stuff? 100%. Like, I love it. And I'm like, I am planning some of that stuff on a much smaller, very similar to what you're talking about, maybe like small segments or like really short clips or something, just to kind of do stuff. Maybe. But I also want to, from a time perspective, there's so much to build and so much we're building all of the connective tissue within the universe, from the foundation, and how everyone can how everyone can jump in and make this thing for themselves. That's kind of where my effort is right now, right? Because otherwise, if I sit down and just animate something, I can do it. It's going to look dope. It's also just masturbation at this point, right? Like, what is it, unless it actually moves the community forward?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it might sell some shit, but that's not necessarily just the point. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather, if you gave me the option of saying, hey man, do you want to animate a 30-second spot or a pilot for adult fantasy, or do you want to build a foundation and get everything beta tested so that new people can come in, create cool characters, build their own universe, and kind of push stories forward? I'm going to pick that 100% of the time.
Yeah. That's cool.
Makes sense?
I'm with you.
It does make sense, but it also allows for creating those like actual meaningful collaborations with other projects as well.
Right.
Because then like you could go with Neo, like, well, Neo's in charge of that, and that's what Neo does. Right. So now you actually, instead of being like, yeah, let's collab, here's some whitelist for my stuff, here's some whitelist for your stuff, we collab. Right. That's not a collab. A collaboration is actually working together and building something that legitimately builds a bridge between the two projects so that they can grow together. And that's what that does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait for that whole narrative to die. I'm not going to lie. I can't wait.
I think it's pretty over, actually.
I think it's pretty over
close.
too.
It's close.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the difference between a partnership and a high five.
Right.
Yeah. MK says Todd needs a red button that just flashes his whole room red while we delve into full nerd because reasons. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you need the little statue like on the old Batman show.
That's
where you
right. I
can-
need to flip it, hit a button,
Yeah,
and the room
yeah.
switches.
Yeah.
Or like a Super Friends where they hit a button and the table switches over. And all
Yeah.
that
Oh
Right,
god, I
right,
wanted that
right.
so bad.
Mr. C says maybe it flew into someone's yard and they still have it. I assume it was plastic and
Oh yeah. That was like
Totally.
20 years ago, though. I mean, it was a tornado, though. After all, I mean, I don't think plastic's gonna wind up. I mean, if you could put a tree through a car or a house, I mean, I don't care how good my backing board is. Like, it's probably gone.
for sure.
I mean, one can hope.
It's so funny, dude. Christopher says, here's an idea. Neo anime comic book, animated movie, and real Neo character movie. Sounds very good. And he follows that up
That would be a shit ton of work.
with a
That would be
collectible Neo
so much
physical
work.
coin. You know? With a
Look at
collectible
He's
Neo
just
coin.
he's going all out there.
I love it. So Aaron, Doc, what the hell is next for Neo, man? Like, what do you guys got coming up?
A lot. We right now we are doing the world building for the Neo universe, so that my holders can start building the first episode of Neo. Then we are pushing everything and really just trying to create those meaningful partnerships with these other projects like yours in the community. And like you said, just kind of all come together and build an actual, I don't even know what you would call it, just like a table of powerful projects, so that again, when the time comes that everyone else comes into this space, we really have a well-honed machine that can build this entertainment industry the way that it should be. So that's really what I'm focused on right now. But then we're relaunching the Neo Mint in January, and I have a film called The Burden of Guilt that I made before I ever even really started the crypto side, just to prove that, hey, I'm real. I can make a movie on a shitty budget and I can sell it. So that'll be finished in January, and we'll be selling that, and that'll be the first real revenue that'll be going to our holders. We're doing the Mind Virus documentary in March. We're going to Barcelona, and all the projects that we're covering are going to be there, and we're going to cover them and do kind of just like a state of retreat, and I'm going to interview all of them and really get deep into what their projects are doing. And then we have another film that I can't talk too much about yet, through that Netflix presented to us. And then the big phase 1 goal is the Groomer, which should be, if I have my way, should be starting production by middle of next year.
Oh, it's so awesome, man. I love seeing a full slate, dude. I love it.
I have ADHD, so I tend to put a shit ton on my plate, and if I have nothing to do, I will find something to do. Yeah. So I guess for being a founder and a project runner, it's a great thing to have, because I will constantly come up with new things to do and new ideas and things to build. So I think if I really want to build Neo into like I said, the A24 of Web3, where I'm producing 3 to 4 indie films a year, and just constantly churning out quality movies, like story-driven movies starring Doc. Story-driven movies that could carry itself if it had a bunch of nobodies as the cast. Those are the kind of movies that I want to make and that I will make. And that's really the goal. I want to be the Blumhouse or A24 of Web3, and that's what I'm pushing to do.
That's wicked, man.
Guys, think about how cool it's going to be. I just had a thought, when we have the first like Web3 IRL convention, just absolutely full of all these amazing Web3 entertainment projects like together.
We'll talk about that.
We'll be booth buddies.
100%. Yeah, we'll talk on the green room about that.
All right.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So where can everybody find you guys? Where should I send people for Neo Films?
Well, you got it scrolling there across the bottom. I would probably start there first. Go to the website, dig in, find out as much as you can about what the project is, who the founders are. We're fully doxed. Nobody's hiding behind a PFP. Our IMDb's are there, so you can see, the stuff that we've made. You can find out about the founders' NFTs if that's what you want to do, and really become a part owner of this company. Or then I would say go to Twitter, dig into what's going on there, and then really Discord. Discord is where the community really is, and where a lot of the magic's happening, especially with like the story building that we're doing with the Neo world. And I'm really active on Discord enough that my wife gets mad at me for it. So
As who are we all? I'm sure
It's a lifestyle. Yeah,
it's a lifestyle.
It is, yeah.
Get those 2 a.m. Discord checks, like
pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I wake up in the morning and go through my Discord to see all the messages that happened overnight from everybody that popped in on the other side of the world. That is a legitimate part of my day now.
It really is. It never stops. It's awesome. And but I will admit to sometimes having like I don't know, Jacob's Ladder flashbacks when you hear the Discord ping too much, like after after a launch.
That's like the phantom phone buzz, that
yeah,
where
it really is.
Your phone's buzzing on your leg. Yeah.
You're like, ah. So Aaron, Doc, thank you guys so much. This is fantastic. Everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. Please check out Neo Films. It's neofilms.movie. That's neofilms.movie. You gotta support. Check out their drop. They're a phenomenal project, 100% legit, fully doxed. You heard it here. As you know, they were just an awesome team doing amazing things in Web3 and Web3 storytelling and with film. So please, neofilms.movie. Go check them out. Guys, thank you again.
Thanks for having us. This was fun.
Appreciate you.
We should definitely do this again.
Definitely.
I have enough nerd. I have enough comic book nerd in me that I can go pretty deep nerd.
Hell yeah!
I had Daredevil #1 since I was like 12. So,
dude, oh my god. Okay, well, we'll talk in the green room. We may have something for you. All right. Well, everybody, thank you guys so much. Again, check out neofilms.movie. Check out adultfantasy.io. We love you, and we will see you next time. Until then, peace out. God bless.